Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're heading straight into the heart of India's economic revolution.
Hmm.
We all know the scale of the Indian consumer market is just, well, it's enormous.
Right.
But what happens when you narrow that focus
Right.
down to a specific high-growth, high-margin product?
Exactly. And the sources you've handed us, I mean, this comprehensive market reporting, this project feasibility study, they paint a stunning picture.
They really do.
We are bypassing the global luxury giants and the corner store body sprays.
Yeah.
We are zeroing in on a niche that is just exploding premium fragrances.
And specifically, we're looking for that sweet spot in the market.
That's the mission. We are analyzing the price segment between, let's see, 3,000 and 8,000.
Okay.
This isn't for the ultra-wealthy. This is for the vast aspirational middle class that is ready to trade up.
A group that's currently underserved, it seems.
Completely underserved.
Yeah.
And it represents a massive opportunity for new domestic players.
And when we talk massive, let's frame it. Let's get some context here.
Sure.
The entire Indian perfume market was valued at up to, what, 1.39 billion US dollars in 2024?
That's right.
And the projected growth is staggering. It could reach USD 2.19 billion by 2033. 18%.
It's incredibly fast. But here's why that sweet spot, that tier we're talking about, matters so much. It punches far, far above its weight.
How so?
Well, that Euro 3,000 to Euro 1,000 range, it only accounts for about 15 to 20% of the volume sold.
Okay, so a relatively small number of bottles.
Small number of bottles. But if you look at the value, the actual revenue generated, it commands a disproportionate 35 to 45% of the total.
Whoa. So a small percentage of bottles is generating nearly half the total revenue.
Exactly.
That immediately tells you this isn't just about selling more product, it's about selling a higher value product.
Precise.
Okay, let's unpack this. What's fueling this engine? I mean, it can't just be a sudden preference for nice smells. This has to be structural.
It absolutely is. We're watching two huge demographic forces meet head-on, creating this unstoppable momentum.
And the first is?
The first is the youth bulge. India has approximately 580 million individuals under the age of 40.
Millennials and Gen Z.
Right. And for this generation, fragrances have transitioned. They've gone from being a sporadic, celebratory purchase to an essential daily lifestyle product.
This is the generation defining social media, urban aspiration, all of it.
Exactly. And the second force is the economic expansion of the middle class, which is not slowing down.
Not at all.
We're talking about roughly 30 million individuals being added to that high-propensity spending group every single year.
Wow.
These are people whose disposable income is allowing them to make that leap. That leap from mass-market sprays to premium EDPs right in our target segment.
And the real game changer here is accessibility, right? You don't need to be in the luxury malls of Mumbai or Delhi to be part of this anymore.
That's the critical infrastructure shift. E-commerce platforms, we're talking Nykaa, Amazon, Flipkart, they have completely leveled the playing field.
They've broken down the barrier.
They've obliterated the geographic barriers. Consumers in Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities who, previously had zero access to high-end fragrance retail can now shop for premium international or domestic niche brands with a single click.
That must be accelerating the urbanization effect even further.
It is. The source material notes that urbanization is accelerating at 2 to 2.5% annually. And here's the key metric.
Okay.
Urban populations spend 3 to 4 times more on fragrances than their rural counterparts.
3 to 4 times.
So not only is the spending group growing, but the channels they use to spend are becoming infinitely more accessible. It's the perfect storm for growth.
Beyond just income and geography, this growth is so deeply tied to Indian cultural traditions. Fragrances have normalized as this perfect status item. High value, but accessible enough to be the ideal gift.
Gifting culture is a gigantic driver. I mean, especially for that 3,000 to year 1,000 band.
Right.
They're seen as the perfect aspirational gift for major festivals. Think Diwali, Valentine's Day. But the real predictable spike comes during wedding season.
October through March.
Exactly. That half-year period accounts for a significant 35 to 40% of annual premium fragrance sales.
So for a brand, this isn't just a peak season. It's an annual retail ritual they can literally bank on.
That's it.
And you can't overlook the megaphone of popular culture here.
Absolutely not. The normalization of premium consumption is being driven by Bollywood and social media. When influential figures openly discuss and, showcase their favorite fragrances,
It drives desire.
it drives awareness and desirability without the brand having to pay for traditional advertising. It shifts the burden from paid media to earned influence.
What's also fascinating is the gender dynamic shift captured in the reports.
Oh, this is huge. If we look at the segment breakdown, male fragrance consumption is growing at an astonishing rate.
Right.
We're talking between 20 and 30% annually.
20 to 30, compared to what for the female market?
Compare that to the traditional female fragrance market. It's still strong, but it's growing slower, around 12 to 15%.
So men's is growing almost twice as fast.
At least. This acceleration in the men's segment is a huge tailwind for any new brand entering the market. Men are trading up and establishing their own grooming rituals.
That structural shift really sets the stage for our next topic, which is the incredible financial reality hiding inside these small, luxurious bottles. We have to address the economics because this is where the surprise is truly buried.
It really is.
But before we look at costs, let's just nail down why. Why are consumers willing to spend, say, €3,000 for something they could buy for 500?
They're paying for a performance guarantee.
Yeah.
It boils down to longevity.
How long it lasts?
That's it. A consumer who upgrades from a mass market product that, vanishes in 2 or 3 hours, they're trading up to a premium eau de parfum, an EDP, that offers 6 to 10 hours of consistent performance. They justify the price increase because they aren't just buying liquid, they're buying an all-day experience.
That's a brilliant way to put it, the value proposition. Okay, so let's look under the hood at the costs. This is where it gets really interesting. Let's talk manufacturing cost for a standard 50 milliliter premium fragrance. I had to read this section of the feasibility study twice.
It is genuinely shocking. The total cost to manufacture that 50 milliliter bottle, and that's everything, the liquid, the bottle, the box, is typically between 161 and 360 per unit.
Wait, hold on, let me just absorb that. 360 rupees, max, to make a product that retails for, let's say 4,000 or 5,000.
Correct.
That is an insane markup.
It is, and the largest single component of that cost, it isn't the exotic scent.
It's the bottle.
It's the packaging. The glass bottle, the atomizer, the fancy cap, the premium box. That runs you 78 to 180.
And the actual liquid, the oils and the alcohol.
Raw materials, only about 43 euro to 95 per unit.
So the bottle itself often costs more than the liquid inside it.
Exactly. This is the big reveal. When you sell a product made for 360, let's take a midpoint, say 4,500.
Okay.
The resulting gross margin is between 88% and a staggering 98%. And that's before you factor in the operational costs of selling it.
98%. I mean, that raw manufacturing efficiency is almost unheard of in consumer goods. It sounds like a license to print money.
It does.
But as the report quickly points out, that initial gross margin number is, it's highly misleading about the final profitability.
It is. It's the product of manufacturing efficiency, but you're right. The net margin that actually lands in the bank account is dramatically lower. It falls into the 25 to 40% range.
And the reason for that huge drop?
The manufacturing cost is tiny, but the distribution and customer acquisition costs are enormous.
This is where the digital marketplace takes its toll.
Precisely. The biggest cuts come from 2 places. First, e-commerce platform commissions. Platforms like Nika take a hefty 12 to 18% cut of the sale price, right off the top.
And the second?
Second, and it's getting more and more expensive, is the high customer acquisition cost. The CARAS. Digital marketing, influencer spend, that can run from 200 to 500 just to acquire one single customer.
So for these brands, the biggest cost isn't the liquid, it's the marketing required to convince you to buy it.
That's the business.
Which explains why the asset-light model is so strategically important here.
Absolutely. New domestic brands? They don't need to build massive factories. They leverage contract manufacturing in established hubs like Kannauj, Mumbai, or Gujarat. This asset-light, direct-to-consumer or D2C model eliminates the massive capital investment. Startup costs can be kept impressively low, just 30 lakh to 80 lakh total.
And this is the strategic moat against international competitors.
Think about it. An international luxury brand faces high import duties, 30 to 40% on finished perfumes. A domestic D2C brand bypasses all of that. If you want those incredible 88 to 98% gross margins in India, you have to manufacture in India and adopt this model.
Okay, let's move on to the battlefield. Who is competing in this highly profitable sweet spot between 3,000 and 8,000 rupees? The report makes it sound fragmented.
It's an incredibly dynamic and mixed landscape. On one side, you have the legacy international luxury brands, the Tom Fords, the Creeds, who are firmly priced above 5,000.
They have the brand name.
They have pedigree, but their major weakness is that they're still surprisingly slow and underpenetrated in e-commerce, and especially in Tier 2 cities. They're just now figuring out how to properly use platforms like Nika.
Which leaves a huge gap for agile domestic players.
Yes, the domestic niche players like Bombay Perfumery and ESIC, they're growing like wildfire, 30 to 40% annual growth.
And their angle is authenticity.
It's authentic, relatable Indian storytelling and high-quality ingredient positioning. They resonate strongly with that aspirational young professional who wants something premium but distinctly local.
And we can't forget the major cultural challenge coming from the Middle East.
That's the third force. The Middle Eastern brands like Oud Arabia and Latafa. Yeah. They are aggressively priced, typically between 3,000 and 50,500 for. And they leverage that cultural affinity for traditional scents like Out.
Right.
They offer luxury performance at a more accessible price point than the Western legacy brands. There's a significant challenge.
So if you're a new brand looking to enter this space, what is the clear strategic synthesis we can extract from these reports? What's the playbook?
The roadmap for superior profitability is it's non-negotiable. It has to be a DTC-first strategy.
Direct to consumer.
Selling directly through your own online channel provides margin superiority. You can hit 40 to 50% net margins versus the 25 to 35% you'd get through wholesale.
So own the customer relationship, own the margin. What about differentiation? How do you stand out?
Authenticity and sustainability are no longer niche. They're mandatory. Consumers, especially that youth demographic, they demand transparency. Brands that clearly emphasize natural ingredients and eco-friendly packaging, they aren't just doing good.
They're making money.
They're making money. They can command a 20 to 30% price premium for it.
And circling back to that high customer acquisition cost, how do they win the marketing game without spending away all that beautiful margin?
Marketing has to be surgical. The recommendation is highly targeted. Leverage micro-influencer marketing. Focus on those with, say, 100,000 to 500,000 followers.
Not the megastars.
No. This strategy consistently achieves a 40 to 60% lower SENGAR compared to the broad brush of traditional digital advertising. It's about deeply engaging a smaller, more relevant audience.
That seems like a solid, actionable plan.
Yep.
But success in India always involves navigating that infamous regulatory maze.
Always.
You mentioned earlier that compliance is a major hurdle.
It is a critical layer of operational risk. A new fragrance brand in India is not dealing with a single license. It's a complex, overlapping regulatory framework. It involves multiple government bodies. It's achievable, but it requires diligence.
Let's break down the acronyms because this is where the jargon overload can hit hard. What are the key approvals needed and why?
Okay, so first, because perfumes contain alcohol and are often marketed for cosmetic purposes, you need a mandatory FSSAI license.
The Food Safety and Standards Authority of India for perfume.
That's right. If your product is applied to the skin or contains consumables like alcohol, they have oversight.
That's so counterintuitive. A food safety license for something you spray on your wrist.
It's the complexity of the system. Next, you need the BIS certification, specifically IS 6601. That sets the mandatory quality and safety standards for the perfumery compounds themselves.
So a government sign-off that the chemical formula is safe.
Basically, yes. Then there's a cosmetic angle.
Okay.
That falls under CDSCO approval, which regulates fragrances marketed specifically as cosmetics, and perhaps the most specialized one.
There's more.
Because you're storing and handling highly flammable alcohol-based substances, you need PISO approval, the Petroleum and Explosives Safety Organization. This is a crucial safety license ensuring your warehousing and storage meet national fire and explosion standards.
So it's not just a commercial venture, it's a safety and chemistry venture in the eyes of the government.
That is.
That sounds incredibly daunting, though the report suggests the cost itself is actually quite manageable.
The paperwork is daunting, but the financial burden isn't crippling, no. The estimated total costs for all of this falls between 1.27 lakh and 3.03 lakh, with a timeline of 8 to 12 weeks to get it all done.
Okay.
But the financial reality that hits the business after compliance is the tax structure. Perfumes attract a high 28% GST rate. They are a luxury product.
Let's quickly summarize the critical operational risks these asset-light businesses face beyond the regulatory hiccups.
I'd say integrity and dependence. First, integrity. Counterfeits are rampant in premium markets.
Of course.
Once a brand establishes its value, counterfeiters emerge quickly, so brands have to invest in anti-counterfeiting measures,
Right.
holograms, unique serial codes. That adds maybe 5 to 10% to the product cost, but it protects the brand equity.
And depend.
Concentration risk. The D2C model relies so heavily on e-commerce platforms. Often 60 to 80% of revenue comes from them.
Right.
This means the brand's profitability is basically hostage to the platform's algorithms.
Mm-hmm.
A sudden change in commission structure or a demotion in search rankings can severely impact a brand overnight. They're building a house on rented digital land.
That's a great way to put it.
So if we step back and connect this to the bigger picture,
Hmm.
the rapid premiumization trend combined with this unprecedented digital access has created an ideal window.
Mm-hmm.
We're seeing a high-margin, asset-light opportunity for domestic brands to challenge a market that was previously locked down by these heavily imported global luxury houses who, frankly, struggle with the local digital landscape.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? When we circle back to that staggering gross margin, that 88 to 98% efficiency before marketing, it reveals the true business model.
It does.
The real challenge is not manufacturing a luxury liquid. It's convincing the customer that this liquid is worth the price. The product is cheap to make, but the customer is expensive to acquire. A D2C perfume brand is ultimately an information and branding business, built on a small, luxurious bottle of liquid.
The shift in value perception is everything. The consumer is moving from paying for a simple scent to paying for guaranteed longevity and, for status.
And that leads to the final question we want to leave you with. Given that the actual contents of a 50 milliliter bottle, the fragrance oil and the alcohol cost less than €100, is the consumer truly paying for the scent itself?
Right.
Or are they paying entirely for the narrative and the longevity guarantee that prevents them from having to spray again 2 hours later? The value has shifted entirely from the raw material to the reliable experience it provides. That perception, that's the real story here.